On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder might have interest in Isaiah Hartenstein, plus Devin Carter's NBA draft profile.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and Inside the Thunder beat writer, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into yet another NBA draft prospect profile and projection. This time, we're diving into Providence's Devin Carter. The Thunder also have reported interest in Isaiah Hartenstein from the New York Knicks. We'll talk about all that on today's show, brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with the winning of any $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. What a day today is. We have some really juicy scuttlebutt to discuss at the end of the show, where we talk about the Thunder potentially being in on Isaiah Hartenstein, a very hot topic around the Thunder sphere. We also have one of my favorite prospects in this draft on today's NBA draft profile and projection. We did Jared McCain on Monday. We did Kyle Filipowski on Friday. We're now on Devin Carter. We're going to have tomorrow Deron Holmes. We're going to have on Thursday, you pick. It's your choice for who's on Thursday. Leave the comments down below. With that being said, let's dive into Devin Carter. The best way to describe Devin Carter, if you've listened to this show for some time, we've been hosting this show since May 2020. So if you listen to the show for any period of time, you understand the level of player I typically gravitate toward. We all have our archetypes. We all have our players who we value higher or lower than other people. And Devin Carter is a player who Nick Crane of SI, of Forbes, of the Uncontested, of everywhere, describes as a Rylan Stiles bleeping prospect. And he's right. Devin Carter will be the captain of the all-juice team. You know I'm big on juice. I'm big on players who bring the juice every single night. Devin Carter is the captain, 1-1 pick of the all-juice team of this draft. He's just got it. Let's get into his profile. 6'2", 193 pounds with an 6'8" wingspan. He's 22 years old from Providence, and right there, a lot of you are clacking away. Another guard? He's 6'2"? Where's the front court help? What are they going to do about their front court? As we discussed with Jared McCain, I don't think that they've just completely finished and cannot upgrade, their guard depth and their backcourt depth. Further, than that, what we saw from the Thunder in terms of their philosophy, in terms of what Sam Presti has said after the season, there's no true indication that they're solely coming into this draft looking for a big man to fill that gap. And it wouldn't be fair, right? Ask yourself this: if you're someone who is clamoring and just beside yourself why any of us talk about anyone that's not a big man for the Thunder, ask yourself if on August 1, the only course of action for that front court was drafting a rookie at 12 in a perceived bad draft, would you be content with that? The answer is no, you wouldn't be. The reality is, when your team won 57 games, won their first playoff series since 2016, and only had two glaring weaknesses, one of them was their youth and inexperience, which that will erase itself as the years go by. And the only other glaring weakness was their rebounding and their size. There is no rookie that can wash all that away. And as Sam Presti mentioned, you're never going to build a perfect roster, which is what we've been saying on this show the entire season. You could invest in patching up that hole of the front court rotation, and all it does is spring up other avenues of flaws. So that's where the another guard conversation, I think, falls deaf. Not only can some of these guards be upgraded, but also because if you do want to reshape things in the front court, you have so many avenues to do it better than the 12th overall pick. You just do. Like in this draft class, there are only a few options that I think are legitimate, helpful pieces that can also blend and play the style that Thunder want to play. We'll talk about one tomorrow on Deron Holmes, who you may like way more. But that's why I don't close myself off from an elite defender who will consistently and constantly impact games. So when you look at Devin Carter, he is the best defender in this class. Like I genuinely believe that he will have the best defensive outcome of anyone in this draft class. As we mentioned before, he's on the all juice team. This kid brings it every single night, diving for loose balls, putting a body on guys, boxing out, doing the dirty work, getting deflections, having the constant motor to both lead the Providence Friars on both ends of the floor. And he's one of those guys where it doesn't matter what's going on. Right? We all can pick out players who they need the perfect set of circumstances to give you all out effort. They need to be playing well. They need to have their shot falling. They need to have an easy matchup on the other end. And then if you get that perfect storm, then they're going to give you everything that they have. The bottom line is Devin Carter could be 0 for 22. He's still not going to get down on himself. He's still not going to let that hamper him defensively and also make an impact. And he very rarely has those nights where he's not impacting the game offensively. Because even on the offensive end, even if his shot's not falling that particular night and the scoring aspect is low, he is still setting his teammates up. He's still turning defense into offense. He's still finding ways to help you win. This guy is just a genuine winner. There are certain players who provide a spark and who provide winning plays, no matter the circumstance, no matter the role, and Devin Carter is one of them. And my favorite part about this is, a lot of you, no shade toward any of you listening. You guys have lives and jobs and everything else, and this is where we come in. This is our full-time job to tell you about these guys. I would encourage you, especially those of you that have not watched Providence before and really have not done a ton of research on Devin Carter. When you put a Providence game on, Devin Carter is a no-number guy, and that's what I look for when I'm looking at prospects. Can I pick you out on the court, regardless of how this game flow is going for you, regardless of anyone else on the floor? Like, do you look like the NBA athlete? Do you look like the NBA prospect? Do you look like the guy you're being sold as? Or do I have to look in the program and say, wait, which one was Devin Carter again? Wait, what does he look like again? No, popping off the screen with effort, with intensity, with production. That's what Devin Carter does. And he is an absolute pest. He is going to harass, frustrate, and intimidate ball handlers, forcing shot clock violations with deflections, with blocks, with steals, everything that goes along with it. And while his defense, I think, is the selling point, this guy has legitimate all-defensive chops. What also helps him is that offensively, he's a plus. He shoots 32% on dribble jumpers as a go-to option, which he will not be at the NBA level. I don't see a circumstance out there where Devin Carter is ever a go-to option for an NBA team. That will then limit some of the tougher shots he has to take and rise up his production as a playmaker, as a guy who can make advanced reads, and rise up, his dribble jump shots as he takes the selective ones instead of being forced into tough ones. But here's a guy who can create for himself and others. He shoots 40% on catch and shoot looks, but can also attack closeouts. He's extremely pro ready. He will have a Case and Wallace level impact where, regardless of situation, I don't see a single situation of any of the 30 teams, including Oklahoma City, who you think has this embarrassment of guard talent. I don't see a single roster in the NBA where Devin Carter is not an instant staple and fixture of the rotation and a guy who really puts a bow on any lineup, whether you're a contender or a pretender. He's the perfect modern NBA player. He's versatile. He can shoot. He can defend his butt off on multiple possessions and positions. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can do exactly what you need him to do. And so his height will again jump out. It's like 6'2". He plays way bigger than he is. He's 6'8". And you should see the rebounding. For all of you clicking away about rebounding, 8.6 rebounds per game from the guard position in a cramped, college style where you're mainly playing around the rim. So you don't think that this guy would have what Sam Presti pointed out was a big portion of the rebounding flaw for the Thunder when you really dug into the rebounds? Because as we mentioned on the show, no rebound is created equally. A big problem was not having guys to stop the carom. You don't think Devin Carter has a nose for the basketball to stop those caroms and get those long rebounds? Put a body on guys to dive on the floor and to box them out and to do those things on the long rebounds? Absolutely he does. He's proven it. He's proven it. He works the glass. He works the game. And he works the game from top to bottom. Here's another, analogy that people make all the time, but it fits for Devin Carter. He's an extension of the coach on the floor. He settles the game down. He can work everyone from the refs to his teammates to manipulating the defense. He can do it all. And I really, really think that there's the biggest reason that Devin Carter is, having rumors of this lottery promise is because of all the things he can do. While you might look, and we'll talk about the value of a guy who doesn't have star potential, is that really worth a lottery pick? Well, when you stop looking at what guys could be and what guys might end up being and look at who they are, few better than Devin Carter. There are very few better than Devin Carter. Coming up, what does Devin Carter struggle with? What would be his potential role with the Thunder? And could the Thunder go snag Isaiah Hartenstein all after this? But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. Check out FanDuel right now by going to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. When you go there, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with the winning of any $5 bet. That's 200 buckaroos that you can use, and you can bet on anything from the Finals MVP to who you think will hit one out of the park first in any certain game, spreads, player props, over-unders. Go there right now by visiting FanDuel.com/lockedon. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get your big winner by placing that $5 bet. And of course, you get 200 bucks to deal with in bonus bets at FanDuel. And right now, you can go bet on the NBA Finals, which appear to be trending in the wrong direction for basketball fans of just wanting to see more hoops from the NBA side of things. But the Mavericks are 1.5-point favorites on their home floor to rebound from this 0-2 start. Will the finals end in short order, or will the Mavericks have some bite to them in Dallas? You can go make your predictions at FanDuel.com/lockedon and place some money down at FanDuel.com/lockedon. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. Every single morning, every single day, we're here for you talking Thunder basketball. So what are the weaknesses of Devin Carter's game? Number one, the shot is productive. Absolutely, it's productive, but it's low and slow. It works so far. And again, he's taken a leap as a three-point shooter. But with NBA athletes and NBA closeouts coming to him, what does that look like, at the next step? I think that you've seen his shot get smoother and smoother as you've tracked him, but I still think it will need some refinement in the NBA. I think that when you look at him also as a playmaker, here's another weakness. He's making the correct decisions. He's getting the ball where it needs to go. He's taking care of the basketball for the most part, but he's also not inventing plays, which is okay. There's only a few, playmakers who do that. There's only a few playmakers who can lead guys to a spot or who can just have the unbelievable vision and also passing ability to thread a needle or to find a crease or to find a way to get into a play that otherwise looks impossible. But he can make the basic reads. So much so that I worry about him playing NBA defenses whenever he's in the pick and roll and gets blitzed. Now, you can also turn that on its head, right? If he's not your best player, if he's not, your go-to option offensively, how much attention can you truly command to him, as a defense? But when he gets blitzed on the pick and roll, he does not look comfortable, and that's where he's prone to turn the ball over a little bit. And with that being said, I doubt his first step at the next level on the ball against NBA athletes, especially whenever you factor in that he has a 6'8" wingspan. He can be crafty a little bit, but obviously there's going to be bigger players than him, at the next level. I don't love his first step. I don't love what he looks like whenever he's harassed on his end of the floor, but I do like how he keeps the ball swinging and how he gets the team into their next action. And some of these weaknesses will be washed away just by the simple fact of he's going to play an entirely different role, right? He'll no longer be the best player. He'll no longer be the go-to option offensively. He'll instantly, again, as we mentioned, that there's all 30 teams that could use him. I don't see a single of the 30 teams that would use him as their best player and will use him as their best offensive engine. So that's some weaknesses, but they might be tamed in the NBA. And then you talk about the weakness of no real star power, but goodness, are you going to get one of the best players in this draft in terms of production, longevity, and tools. So yes, I would highly doubt Devin Carter ever reaches an all-NBA team. I would highly doubt that Devin Carter ever reaches an all-star team. But I think he's going to be all defense. I think he can win a Sixth Man of the Year award depending on what role you put him in. I think that he can be a player who we consensusly around the NBA say is a talented player, say is a floor riser, say is a player that ties the team together, say is an underrated player. We consistently we will consistently talk about Devin Carter as one of those guys who all 30 teams want. He'll be sought after. He has the tools to make a difference. He's a championship level player. And that's the difference in winning titles, is having players like this. We know about the stars you have to have. You also have to have Devin Carters. And you can never have too many Devin Carters. You just can't. I know that people like to draw the leaps, right? Tajin Salone, Devin Carter. We like to leap them to connect the dots to Thunder players. And Devin's is, of course, Cason Wallace, as we mentioned his name earlier, about having an instant impact. You can never have too many Cason Wallaces. You just can't. There is no such thing as too many productive three-point shooters who defend their butts off. You just cannot have too many of those guys around your proven stars. And that's where the Thunder have the luxury of treating the 12th overall pick differently than most teams can. Right? The Thunder have their nucleus. They have their three-headed snake. Now you're flushing it out. Now you're building a championship core. And part of that comes from getting guys like Devin Carter on a very cheap rookie controllable scale deal. So you've got to balance that, though. On the flip side of that coin, very rare does a 57-win team get the 12th overall pick. Here again, speaking from a Thunder prism, though, you're in line to have very many more lottery picks as a high win ball club. And in better drafts where the swings are more likely to pan out than the swings in this draft are likely to pan out. So do you take the for sure money in this draft, in a draft where you've really got to squint to see the star power, and save your swing and potential miss in a draft where it's not as hard to envision a star popping out of it? That's what you're going to have to balance here. And that's the cost benefit I'm not sure is properly being evaluated right now by many people. In terms of Devin Carter, personally, he is the son of NBA player Anthony Carter, who's a Grizzlies assistant. He's rumored to be a lottery pick. He averaged 19 points, 8.6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2.8 stocks per game last year with Providence. A point per game as a pick and roll ball handler is really good. Any of these stats that are above a 1 is really good. For example, he's 0.9 as an ISO score. That's good. And he's 1.1 in points per possession in spot up. He's 1.2 point per possession in transition. He's 1.1 point per possession in handoffs. He's 1.6 point per possession on cuts. Like all those things, the cuts, the transition, like those things are what you're going to be looking for on top of the 40% shooting on catch and shoot opportunities, 68% at the rim because he's willing to get physical and put a chest on guys going toward the basket and use that wingspan to his advantage. On the flip side, defensively, he only allows 0.8 points per possession on overall defense. That's a great mark for him. Same number, 0.8 points per possession as a pick and roll defender, which is the bread and butter of the NBA. And here's the kicker. When you try to isolate him, he allows 0.4 points per possession. This is one of the best defenders this class has to offer. I think the best defender that this class has to offer. So where's he available at? Where is he going in mocks? The Ringer has him at 11. ESPN has him at 12. The Athletic has him at 13. Bleacher Report has him at 8. CBS has him at 9. Draft Digest has him at 18. Tankathon has him at 16. Mavs Draft, our good pal Richard Stayman, has him at 9. What's his future role with the Thunder? I think that you're looking at a Cason Wallace level player who, like, as a rookie, they're instantly stapled into the rotation. I think that he represents the perfect swing starter for the Thunder as a guy who you can just overwhelm teams defensively. If you are throwing out a defensive lineup of Shea, Devin Carter, J-Dub, and Chet, and Lou Dort, that is mind-blowing stuff that you've unlocked there. In terms of his roster impact, you know I'm a huge Aaron Wiggins guy and will remain as such. What this is going to come down to for me, one, Wiggins has more positional versatility, in my opinion, than Carter. But two, who gets that corner three faster and more sustainably? Because while Wiggins' overall three-point numbers are really good, and he did have a career year in the corner shooting 38%, 38% is still just the 44th percentile for his position. He's got to improve in the corners, and I think he will. I think we've seen him climb and climb and climb. But he'll battle for that with Wiggins there, of like, that's an area where you could see being separating factors as you are making these insanely tough decisions when making a roster. But much like we talked about with Jared McCain, I don't believe that this will have any long-term impact on the Thunder, in the sense of the Thunder uniquely rifle through their players already. So when you need the additional defense, that's where you play Carter even more than usual. When you need offense, you might play Joe more than him. When you need a blend of both, you'll play Wiggins. Like you'll just pick your poison based on the game flow. And Mark's willingness to do that, the Thunder's willingness to not have that stubborn rotation that many teams want, all of that gets baked into the roster impact. And that's why I don't believe that even drafting a guard would change anything. I don't think it would have any bearing on what they do the rest of this summer. I don't think it would have any bearing on the majority of these players' roles. So why the Thunder should take them? You can never have too many elite bodies and elite defenders. This league is too good. There's too many great offensive players from top to bottom. And as you improve and as you move forward into getting to the second round, getting to the third round, etc., you're only going to see more and more scores. And for all of you that clack away by another guard, the Thunder had unbelievable one-of-one perfect injury luck. That's never going to happen again in all likelihood. You cannot bank on that. This elevates your insurance policy. So I think Devin Carter would be a perfect fit for OKC. Why the Thunder wouldn't take him, you would then be saying, well, you could probably take a bigger swing at 12. But we addressed that earlier. So what do you think about Devin Carter? Let me know down below. Coming up, let's talk Isaiah Hartenstein to the Oklahoma City Thunder with their quote-unquote real interest in him. But first, I want to say right now, better good friends over at BetterHelp. Check out BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA, because I think that a lot of us understand that we could use the benefit of therapy. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try, because it kind of negates all of the reasons not to, right? So even though we can admit we'd benefit from therapy, a lot of us, including myself, stop ourselves from it because, well, we're too busy. We can't go make the appointment somewhere. We can't go to this actual office. That's completely done at BetterHelp because it's entirely online. It's entirely designed to be convenient, flexible, and suit your schedule. Just fill out the brief questionnaire, and then you're going to get matched with a licensed therapist. Hopefully you guys click right away. If not, you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge and find the one that's absolutely perfect for you to continue to get the benefits of therapy. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA for 10% off your first month. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Rate the show, review the show, subscribe to the show, wherever you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. Folks, after the show is over, are you watching Fox Sports and ESPN on your TV all day long, maybe in your office, and you're finding yourself that you got to turn down that volume from all that shouting? Well, make the switch. Go to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel that is programmed for you every day with the biggest stories without all the screaming from the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube, free on Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're diving into the Thunder's potential interest in Isaiah Hartenstein. So this report comes from the New York Post. They say, quote, "The Thunder are viewed by NBA sources as a top threat to pry Hartenstein away from the Knicks in free agency. One league source speculates the Thunder would offer a short-term deal, such as 2 years, with a high salary, providing both sides with long-term flexibility. It's real," an NBA insider says of OKC's interest of Hartenstein, according to the New York Post. So that's the report that was dealt out on Monday evening. Here's where I think Thunder fans have to be more discerning than ever about rumors. Because the Thunder are set up in a way that logistically and logically, they can do whatever they want, you're going to get more rumors thrown at you than ever before. So think about this. Logistically, they have top 5 in the league cap space. They have 4 open roster spots. They have a mountain of draft picks. They have a contending team as well. That's the logistic of things. Logically, they're going to want to improve their team, you would think. They're going to want to take that next step, you would think. They have some areas to improve, like this front court situation. That blends itself into anything and everything being reported about OKC. So you've got to watch the verbiage of the report, right? This leads other executives to speculate that this would be possible. Well, let me tell you something. I can sit here and speculate what's possible as well. Now, theirs does hold a bit more water as someone actually inside the league, but that's still just one, person's opinion of what the Thunder should do. The call very rarely comes from inside the house. So that's where, for Thunder fans, it's going to be difficult because you have so many options thrown at you. Because can the Thunder do this? Absolutely. They can throw short-term money at Isaiah Hartenstein, tie up their front court rotation, have it fall off their books before the extensions for Chet, J-Dub, and SGA kick in, and go on about their happy way, being able to capitalize on a unique window set up by their contract structures. If I told you right now that they end up doing that June 30th, you would not be caught off guard at all. So you can't just outright dispute this report. But what you can do is dig deeper into it. So can the Thunder do this? Yes, they can. But what a pivot it would be, huh? Number one, the organization has told you publicly and wholeheartedly, privately, that Chet Holmgren is their center of the future. From the first moment Chet Holmgren walked across that stage to get that draft hat, to the time that he got injured for an entire season, to the time that he played all 82 games, they've been consistent in the messaging that Chet Holmgren is the starting center. And they view him as a specific center. So they're not going to put Chet to the fore. That idea, regardless of who's speculating about it, whether it's you in the comment section or NBA rival executives, it's not going to happen. Chet Holmgren is their center. So now you're looking at Hartenstein as a backup big. Because even as they have Chet Holmgren as their starting center the entire season, they very rarely play double big lineups. It was only 2% of the time that they used it. They only used double bigs 2% of the time, as Sam Presti kept beating into your head at his exit interview. So that's a lot of money for a non-shooting center to come off the bench. But then you circle it back. Even as we just laid this all out, you circle it back to, yeah, but they have the money to spend. It wouldn't hurt them in any significant way financially. And it would help their roster. They'd get immediately the best rebounder on their roster from Hartenstein by quote unquote just money, right? They wouldn't give up any additional assets to do it. They'd just spend the money that they have to spend anyway to get to the salary cap floor. They'd immediately get their best rebounder. They would immediately upgrade their front court rotation and push J. Will down to the third big, which now the value of J. Will, as J. Will's playing that third big spot, J. Will as your third big, who can play make at his level, who can shoot at his level, who's improved defensively and athletically that he has, it's a really, really good option than versus whenever he was only your only backup big. You also get a guy who, while he can't space the floor, he helps you athletically, he helps you above the rim, he helps you as a play finisher, especially with those second groups. So that's where you fall on the on the Isaiah Hartenstein rumors. The bottom line is buckle up, because the Thunder will be in every single rumor between now and the end of the offseason. Once the dust settles, once the 217 free agents are accounted for, that's when the rumor mill will stop, and not a day short, because the Thunder have the logic and logistics to make anything work. Do I think that the Thunder will go sign Isaiah Hartenstein? I don't think so. I would bet against it. But that's not to besmirch the great folks of the New York Post. I don't think that they'll do it, because it'd be quite the pivot to do that. But again, I just told you 4 reasons why it'd be really good. So you can look at this until the day that he has pen to paper with whatever team he signs with. You can look at this glass half full or glass half empty. Because even as I lay all that out and give you the detailed point A, point B, point C exhibits, like a crime scene of how the Thunder build rosters, the Thunder left themselves, and Sam Presti left himself, such an out by, while we can point to whatever we want to of, we can either beat you over the head with the phrases of, internal development and 2% double big lineup and that they don't want to do anything dramatic, things like that. He also left it open of stressing how adaptive the Thunder will be and how not stuck in one play style the Thunder are. Sam Presti gave us 0 tea leaves to truly jump off of, because he laid every tea leaf out there. So again, as I said the day of his exit interview, you can take quotes from him that make you believe they will or won't sign a player like Isaiah Hartenstein. And that's where the trouble comes in for you, the fan of, you're going to have literally everything, every prospect, every free agent, every trade piece thrown your way. And almost like a ball club, you can't get too high, can't get too low on what might happen. Because for as non-talk radio as it is, we don't know what's going to happen yet. I'm not going to pretend that we know. I'll lay out the evidence that we have. I'll lay out what I'm hearing behind the scenes. I'll lay out what makes sense when you say it out loud. And in that case, as we laid out just now, I don't believe that they'll sign Isaiah Hartenstein. But if they did, and we had to do a live stream emergency podcast because they signed Hartenstein, I also wouldn't just be on the floor, mouth agape, looking for answers. And that's where the Thunder can be thrown in every single rumor, because it all makes sense when you look at it through a certain lens. There's other teams who they don't have the maneuvers, like they don't have the resources to go make something happen, whether it's money or assets. There's other teams where they don't have the roster spots, they don't have the fit, they don't have the ability to take it on. Whereas the Thunder, they have so much flexibility that they're going to be put into every single scuttlebutt. Let me know what you think. Should the Thunder go and make this draft move with Devin Carter? Should they go and sign Isaiah Hartenstein? What should they do? Let me know down below on the Lockdown Thunder YouTube channel, on Twitter at Ryland_Styles, or just anywhere you listen to podcasts from. Thank you so much for listening. Until tomorrow, as we talk to Ron Holmes and whatever else breaks between now and then, be good and be good to one another.